Thanks very much, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to our witnesses. I want to draw a different parallel with Iran, if I could. But to back up just a second, I don't think anybody questions how grave a threat North Korea poses to us. We've seen a nuclear weapons program for over a decade, a tremendous acceleration in their missile delivery capabilities. This threat is growing, and it seems to be at an accelerating pace. And despite the many sanctions that we have on North Korea, our allies have joined us. The South Korean government reports that North Korea's economy grew at the fastest rate in 17 years last year, that their GDP managed to expand by 3.9%, admittedly off a low level. But they are experiencing economic growth, and it's hard to imagine that they're going to abandon these programs if they're discovering that they have greater prosperity year in and year out. So I want to commend the work you guys are doing is terrific. It's really important. I am grateful for it. I agree fully with the executive order to further pursue sanctions. But we have had witnesses who have reported to us, and I don't think that our current witnesses will disagree, we are not yet at the maximum level of possible sanctions against North Korea. For instance, we're told at past hearings that there are financial institutions conducting transactions with North Korean entities that are not subject to the secondary sanctions today. Do you both agree with that?
Senator, any financial institution would be subject to our authorities.
Okay, I understand that, but is it true that there are financial institutions, including Chinese institutions, that are conducting financial transactions and have not had sanctions imposed directly on them?
Well, Senator, as you're probably aware, in June we in fact took action against one such.
Against one, and listen, I'm in favor of that. I'm glad. My point is, there are many other institutions that are conducting transactions, and you've acknowledged today that there is one Chinese bank that has had sanctions imposed directly. So my point in all this is, we also have learned, I think, that the mandatory sanctions of the Iran sanctions legislation probably played a big role in bringing Iran to the table. And it is my belief, and I think it's shared by my colleague, the senator from Maryland, with whom I'm working on legislation, and we've been working with Treasury, and we want to continue to work with you on this. But the threat of mandatory sanctions immediately, once that legislation passes, sends a very, very powerful message to financial institutions. And I think that's the tool that we need. That is the tool that worked with Iran. We have not adopted that yet, and it's my hope that we will, and I welcome your thoughts on it.
So, Senator, of course, we think that having the authority to go after financial institutions is incredibly important. That's why we had the strongest executive order. The President's just signed the strongest executive order that we've ever had, which gives us the authority on a going-forward basis to impose secondary sanctions against financial institutions. We think banks are taking note. We are very carefully monitoring their ongoing activity and behavior. And look, the safety and security of the American people come first, and we won't hesitate to act where we think that it's warranted.
Yeah, I understand that, but having the authority to do something is not the same thing as being required to do something, and the latter simply sends a stronger message. Now, I think there should be a way for an institution that ceases and desists, for instance, to no longer be subject to sanctions, right? I mean, we want to have a mechanism that doesn't permanently disqualify an institution from U.S. markets if they have ceased and desisted. But my own view is we haven't taken the most aggressive steps possible, and this is as serious a threat as I can plausibly imagine. So I hope you'll continue to work with us in this effort. I want to thank my colleague, Senator Van Hollen, for the great work that he's done on this. And Mr. Chairman, I think I've come in 30 seconds short.